I had a request to do a video on body shame, and as I started thinking about it, I started to realize that all gay men at some point in our lives have experienced shame in relationship to our bodies. Whether that shame was around realizing a same-sex attraction and comparing that to messages that we've gotten about what it means to be gay, or whether that is how we experience our body in comparison to the messages we get about what is attractive or what is sexy or what is masculine enough. We've all experienced at some time shame as it relates to our bodies. So shame is, at its heart, the fear of disconnection from others. We're all wired to want connection with other people, and shame is the fear of disconnection. For many of us as gay men, and growing up, we had experiences where we realized that being other or being different was a threat to connection with other people. So for many of us, we became and then sometimes still are hyper aware of what people want from us to have connection with us. And for many of us, we set up a system in our minds and a way of viewing ourselves in the world where we did those things to nurture connection with other people, whether that was achieving academically or athletically. It might have been being the peacekeeper in our families, or even being the perfect religious model teenager and checking all of those boxes. When we were busy doing that, we were busy checking other people's boxes and not developing a sense of love and acceptance and compassion for ourselves. And then we come into the gay community and we get a lot of really strong messages about what is attractive, what's desirable, what's sexy. And we add all of these things up. We add up, for many of us, being steeped in fear of disconnection, these strong messages that we get from community, a history of achieving and pleasing for other people, not talking about vulnerability and not talking about these issues in our community. And we have a recipe for shame and for body shame and how we perceive our bodies. How can we address this? We can address this in part by growing our sense of selves, in addition to how we perceive our bodies. When we perceive our bodies as our entire worth or most of our worth, then how they're perceived by other people, how our bodies are perceived by other people, becomes a measure of how we feel about ourselves. And that is not a sustainable way of creating a sense of worthiness. We want to look at what's important to us. We want to look at our values and how we want to show up in the world, how we want to be in relationship, how we want our values reflected in our career. And as we move our life in those directions, it starts to expand our sense of self, and we have a much broader sense of ourselves than our body. Our body is going to be a piece of how we see ourselves, but it's not going to be the entire thing or even a very large piece of that. Another way is by nurturing our relationship with our body. And that relationship needs acceptance, and it needs compassion, it needs gratitude, and it also needs connection. We need to connect with our bodies in a healthy way. When we do all these things, when we create healthy relationships with our own bodies, then we can create healthy relationships with other people. And then as we do that, then our community can continue to heal. So how can we continue to do this, and how can we continue to expand on this? It's through bringing it out into the light and having conversations about it. The shame researcher Brené Brown points out that shame needs three things to grow. It needs secrecy, and it needs silence, and it needs judgment. And if we have these conversations, whether it's with our therapist, whether it's with one another, we start to hold these things up to the light, and shame can't survive in the light, and it can't survive with compassion, and it can't survive with connection. So this is certainly the beginning of the conversation. It's scratching the very surface. But I would encourage everyone to have conversations with people that they trust, to look at if there are areas of their life in which shame is still around, and if that's connected to body, looking at some of these ways of starting to heal that. And then we move the conversation forward, and we expand the healing in ourselves and in our community. So if you'd like to stay up to date with everything that's going on with Inner Sun Psychotherapy, I post videos and resources each week. You can like us on Facebook, and you can also find out more at www.innersunpsychotherapy.com. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day. Take good care.